Sometimes, attraction music has recognizable themes from the IP that it's based on. Other times, an attraction will have such original, iconic music that the score itself becomes what some might call the emotional propeller of the ride. We are now conducting our final systems check. Please stow all carry-on items in the underseat compartment, remain seated for the duration of the flight, and watch your children. Because today, we're going soaring over California. Hey party people, I'm Chris Waffle and welcome to Area Loop, where we look at the songs that make the rides and the music that makes the parks. And in today's video, we're looking at the original score for a ride that, well, it was the rare highlight of the opening day attractions at Disney's California Adventure. And not only was it a highlight, but it actually inspired future versions all around the world. That's right, we're looking at the score for Soarin Over California. Okay, picture this. It's the summer of 2001. The Eminem hit song Stan is blowing up the charts. It's GameCube versus Xbox in the console wars. Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick have just released a film called AI, Artificial Intelligence, about a topic that no one's ever heard of before or since. And you've decided to spend your Sunday afternoon at Disney's California Adventure, which has just opened that year. You get into the park, and you might first head to this ride.
There's a collect call for you. It's your new agent.
Welcome to Hollywood. Looking sensational as always. Mwah. Listen, I'll have your contract for you at the premiere, okay? Just get to the Chinese theater pronto, you hear me? Everybody's waiting, capiche? Now don't be late, babe. Mwah.
Don't worry, we'll get you there in time. Our first stop is glamorous Rodeo Drive. There's Regis Philbin. That's my final answer.
And then after that, maybe you head on over to the farmland where they have farms equipment. Well, folks, I don't have to imagine it because that was me. I was one of those people. And let me tell you, going into that park in those very early years, Soarin' Over California was definitely something very cool and a must-see at a park that, let's face it, would take some time to come into its own. The idea for a hang gliding ride using an IMAX screen actually goes back to the mid-90s. Originally called Ultra Flight, the original idea was that you would be in some form of a harness or ride seat that would then be lifted up and flown over a screen or different screens. Imagineers at the time were having trouble coming up with a system that was both convincing and within budget to accomplish this. It seemed like the idea was maybe doomed to be lost in the dustbin of rides. That is until Imagineer Mark Sumner took out an old Erector set.
Nice work, pal.
And this was all pre-digital, so when they filmed the ride scenes, it was done in IMAX HD at 48 frames per second. So with that all figured out, Soarin' Over California was given the green light to be one of Disney California Adventure's star attractions in its very own land, at the time, Condor Flats. The ride itself is really a love letter to the state of California, showing everything the beautiful state has to offer. Let's see here. Where do we go in this ride? We go to, let's see, we fly over Yosemite, downtown LA at night. We hang 10 with some surfer dudes. And let's see what else here. Oh, you almost get hit with the golf ball. You know, all very California things. Since the ride is basically you watching a travel film, so to speak, with no characters or speaking parts really of any kind, the score became an instrumental part. Instrumental. Get it?
We're not gonna have a problem here, are we? Didn't think so.
It's not clear if Imagineering had reached out to a number of people to score the film. Like, did they call up John Williams, but he was too busy scoring the scene in the Star Wars prequel when Jar Jar Binks steps in poop? Did they call up Danny Elfman, but then it became like too spooky for him? I've always wondered what the ride would have been like if Mark Mothersbaugh had scored it. Cool. Who they ended up working with was legendary film and TV composer Jerry Goldsmith, who, let's face it, frankly, soared to the occasion. And it just may have been due to the fact that right around the time they were developing the ride, Jerry Goldsmith had just won an Academy Award for his score for the animated Mulan. Even if you don't recognize the name, you probably know Goldsmith's music. Not only did he do Mulan, but he also scored the original Planet of the Apes, which was the first film score done in avant-garde style. He also did The Omen. He did Gremlins. And if you're ever walking around a Universal Studios theme park, you'll probably run into this little gem that he wrote. So again, we're talking a top-tier composer with many awards under his belt. And the Imagineers still had to pitch him the idea of writing the score for the ride. So they brought him to Imagineering where they had a mock-up of how the ride would be with a seat, and they let him kind of go through it and see what it was like. And as the story goes, Goldsmith was said to have come down from the ride for the first time in tears. The Imagineers feared something terrible had happened. No, everything was fine, Goldsmith said. He then went on to explain that he had two loves in his life, music and flying. In fact, some of his favorite memories as a child was flying gliders with his dad down among the dunes where LAX was eventually built. Jerry, as it turns out, had been weeping because he was happy. He thought that the Soarin' Over California ride film was beautiful, magical. I'd do anything to be a part of this project, Goldsmith continued. I'd even score the film for free. Man, well, that's a great story, but Disney paid him, right? I'm sure Disney paid him. I mean, he offered to do it for free, but they paid him. I'm sure they paid him. This was during the Paul Pressler years at the Disneyland Resort, but they paid him. I'm sure they paid him. And in the end, it all came together to form the perfect hang glider stew, an iconic ride that spawned different versions all over the world. You've got Soarin' Over the World. You've got Soaring, Fantastic Flight. Soaring Over the Horizon. And Soarin', bringing back the apostrophe, Over America. The ride was such a hit that even other manufacturers got in on the action. With the iFly and Flyride systems, these things started popping up all over America and all over the world. I've been on the one at Mall of America. There's one up near here in Seattle called Wings Over Washington. You may have been on one of these rides outside of the Disney park. But here's the difference. Often, with the original Soarin' Over California, when the ride ended, there would be clapping, applause, and often emotional reactions and tears. And I believe that the reason for that is the score. This ride would be nothing without the score. Nothing! So let's spread our wings and explore Goldsmith's score. Clocking in at around 4.5 minutes, it begins with that low hum that's in D, and it starts to slowly build and get real like that, and it goes up to a like a B flat, basically. And then there's 4 themes to the song. There's 4 sections that kind of interact with each other and come in and out. And part 1 might be the most recognizable, but it's that fanfare that starts out like this. So you've got your B flat, and then it goes to E flat, then F twice. So it's like da 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 da, and then to G flat. Then to B. Then back to B flat. And now you're in it. Now we're flying. And it goes to section 2, which I call soaring along, because when you hear it, you know you're just soaring along, and like over the river in this first part, I think in Lake Tahoe, and then you meet up with some balloons, and it's wine country, and the soaring along basically just goes, so you're still in the B flat, or no, I'm sorry, E flat. To a D flat. So like a da na 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 da na na na, and then again da na 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 da na 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 da, and then the B. Da. I know, look, I'm just playing this on bass, and it sounds awesome with a full score. I don't have an orchestra with me here in the area loop zone, so just bear with me. That's section 2, and it's going to come back. And then we get to section 3, where the horns take front and center and fill us with awe as we go over Monterey Bay. This part's pretty short, and it works well as a transition, but it's the part that goes here, and again we're in the E flat still. The and then back to the B. Then it's back to the fanfare again. Back to that. And this time we're approaching Half Dome in Yosemite. This time, however, though, we stay in the B because we're playing it a half step up. Pretty cool. This kind of we're building as the ride goes on. I also believe we might be going back and forth a little bit during this part between 3/4 time and 4/4 time. It gets a little complicated there, probably beyond my skill, honestly, but it's like back to the 4/4. So the score is leveling up a little bit at this point. Then it's back to section 2, soaring along, as I call it. And it's also leveled up a little bit with more instrumentation. Back to the 4/4. it goes like that for a little bit. Now comes a really unique part of the score that isn't really found in any of the other versions. And it's actually only comes into this score once. And it's this section that has a kind of a ranchero, south of the border feel, bringing in a lot of the Spanish and Mexican influences that are such a big part of California. But if you recall the original one, it's this part. The guys are riding the horses through the kind of the desert mountains. Pretty cool. But it's this part. It's just kind of E-A-B-E. But it's the part that goes... like that part. You know, it's got some percussion in there, some like castanets or something. Yeah, this part's cool. He kind of just repeats it twice. Love that part. Then the jets fly overhead. Surprise. And we circle back to the fanfare again. And then we go back and it's the soaring along, floating along part. And then finally we're back at Disneyland at night. And it's Christmas time. Hooray! The original Soarin' ride, Soarin' Over California, was the first of its kind and has had a lasting impact on the themed entertainment industry. It's a simple concept, yet a novel one. It's a simulator ride, yet your feet dangle. That's cool, right? I think it's cool. The score ended up being one of the final things Jerry Goldsmith worked on. And fortunately, he was able to see its completion before he passed away in 2004. The later iterations by Disney that we're familiar with attempted to recapture the magic of that original score. But with his passing, some might say thankless job was left to Bruce Broughton to try to take those themes and make it fit with new scenes from the new versions of the ride. But that's a tale for another area loop. So what's your favorite part of the music on this ride? Is it section 1, the fanfare? Is it the south of the border section? Is it the grand finale? Also, do original scores like this still hold up and are warranted in today's IP-laden theme park environment? And what other songs would you like me to talk about? Songs, music, ride songs? Let me know all of this down below. And if you enjoyed this Ride Music Deep Dive, the channel is Area Loop. I'm Chris Waffle, and you can give me the old like and subscribe, because in every episode we're going to be taking a deep look into ride music and ride songs and asking,
what the hell are these songs about?
In the next episode, we're going to go on a little picnic. I hope nothing zany happens. Until the next loop, remember, keep your head in the clouds, your feet dangling in the air, and the music in your ears. How do I turn this thing off?
Of our entire flight crew, thanks for soaring with us. To unfasten your seatbelt, just push down on the red button on your right. Be sure to gather all your carry-on items from the underseat compartment and exit to your left.